Right, sorry about that. A bit of a janky start. It's this device that didn't want to accept a live stream on the rotation setting that was on. Anyway, so right. This is a Google search. Trump says he would sanction Russia if Putin does not. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Right, it's the second one up with the red label, but it doesn't show as red on here. Trump says he would sanction Russia if Putin does not. We have an ocean in between, right little thing called an ocean, but the European Union takes advantage of tremendously on trade, whatever. Right. Actually, it doesn't really make a lot of sense when you look at it like that. So let's actually log on to it. So it's taking us to YouTube. There is a point to all of this.
The United States gives the permit. So what I'm saying is let the United States give.
You've called for a ceasefire in Ukraine. If Vladimir Putin doesn't come to the table to negotiate with you, will you put additional sanctions on Russia?
Sounds likely.
And do you think that the war should be frozen currently along
The
with
war should have never
timeline?
started. If you had a competent president, which you didn't, the war wouldn't have happened. The war in Ukraine would have never happened if I were president. But that couldn't happen because the election was rigged. Yeah, go ahead. Well, we're looking at that. We're talking to Zelensky. We're going to be talking with President Putin very soon. And we'll see how it all happens. We're going to look at it very soon. One thing I do feel, the European Union should be paying a lot more than they're paying because under Biden, I mean, we're in there for $200 billion more. Now, it affects them more than it affects us. We have an ocean in between, right? Little thing called an ocean. The European Union should equalize. We're in there for $200 billion more than the European Union. I mean, what are we, stupid? I guess the answer is yes, because they must think so. But the European Union takes advantage of us tremendously on trade.
So the point that I wanted to make has already been made by Trump, and obviously you don't know what point I'm going to make, but I have prepared this so that you can all see. See, look. Let's get rid of the Hertz generator. Let's get rid of settings. Let's get rid of Google Storm. Let's get rid of that search that brought us onto YouTube. And let's go on to Google Earth. All right? Explore Earth. You can all see what I'm looking at here, can you? All right. So over here, tiny little dot here, we have England. Right? All the way over here, the ocean, we have America, Brasilia, yeah? Now, whether anybody wants to accept this or not is irrelevant, right? This is America, but they call it South America. It is joined by the continental USA by a strip of land that has Guatemala, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama, right? Those three countries straddle central continental America to South America, right? Now, let's not forget, let's get the orientation right. All the way over here, right, is what Putin says separates America from Europe. I mean, basically, I've been hearing this comment a lot. If war starts, America's isolated because its landmass is so far away from everything. I've heard Americans say this. I've heard Europeans say this. I've heard it on news and everything. And I'm confused because, see, when I learn things, they don't go away. And even if I forget them, they bug me and bug me and bug me. And then I think to myself, well, why is this bugging me? So I've looked at it, right? So this is America here, right? Let's tab on, widen it up and that. Look, Texas, right? Fort Worth, bring it in, show everybody that we're not fucking about, right? Sorry for the profanity, United States. And then you go up here, right? And it's like with everything else, everybody wants to give places a line, put a line through it and a map and say this and say that. And it's just a crock of shit. Example, the Middle East. There's no such thing as the Middle East. That's North West Africa. Iraq, Kuwait, Palestine, Israel, Egypt, all of those places are on the African tectonic plate. You can walk from Nigeria to Israel without getting your feet wet. I had a word with, I was in a relationship with somebody that went on Hajj, and they said that they did the pilgrimage, and I said, "Oh, so you've been to Africa?" She went, "No, I've been to the Middle East." And this is how retarded people are. But what do I mean? Let me show you this now, right? So you heard Trump. You heard what Trump had to say, his comment that Trump had to say, yeah? Right? So you go to Canada now, right? Which is, this is the reason why I mentioned the Middle East not being the Middle East, because they put a line on it. They're trying to mentally divorce everybody's mind away from the fact that all of that land there is stolen and it's actually Africa, right? But they don't want to call it Africa. They don't want to call it Northeast Africa. So they call it the Middle East, yeah? To divorce everybody intellectually from the fact that it's Africa. And the same thing that they've done to America, right? Canada is North America. You can walk from Nicaragua all the way up to Alberta, Canada, and not get your feet wet unless you deliberately walk into bodies of water. But you understand what I'm saying, right? Now, Russia, when you get to the tip of Canada, right? Russia sold, how you sell a landmass don't belong to you, I don't know. But Russia sold Alaska to the Americans. I don't know if anybody's aware of that, right? Not only that, but this landmass here is Russia. This landmass here is America, but they call it Canada, North America. And the distance between those two landmasses, shock horror, 55 miles. That's all. It's just 55 miles. Russia is 55 miles away from America. So how is this landmass, this ocean, the comments that President Trump said make any sense? Somebody out there make it make sense to me, because it don't make no sense to me. Right? I mean, what I've learned, everything is a lie. They lie about absolutely everything. Everything is a damn lie. Russia, right? Russia's supposed to be a pariah state. It's supposed to be isolated from everybody, a bit like North Korea, right? But yet, when the COVID outbreak occurred, I know you're asking yourself, where's he going with this? When the COVID outbreak occurred, they stated, and this was like a priming, they were priming everybody, right? Giving everybody the choice. You see, that's what they do. They give you the information and then they give you the choice. And your choice is then based on the information. So before they came out with the vaccine, there was this big long run up about how there was a race on to make the vaccine. And then the facts about vaccine making, testing, etc. came out afterwards. And they were saying, well, it usually takes 10 years to create a vaccine, but we're going to create one in a year. And then they were going on about its efficacy and its safety and it's this and it's that. And Fauci came out with loads of crap, right? And then, boom, the vaccine was out, right? and it started making people sick. But that's not the point. The point is that Russia also had a vaccine. They call their vaccine Sputnik. Now, how are you, a pariah state, right? And the rest of the world has rushed out a vaccine, and you just happen to have a vaccine at the same time that the rest of the world introduced their vaccine, and you call yours Sputnik? I mean, if this doesn't show you that the one world government is already here, right, and they're lying about everything, then I don't know what to tell you. If you believe this Ukraine war, right, then I don't know what to tell you. You see, this is a great, what do they call it? The great draining away, the great taking away. Putin says, Trump says, we have to isolate ourselves, make America great again. And so Europe has to pay for the upkeep of the war in the Ukraine, right? So America has Lockheed Martin and the rest of them, which are weapons manufacturers. So that means that Europe is now going to have to start buying weapons from America. So in actuality, Ukraine is still a de facto proxy regime set to drain Russia, which ultimately the ultimate aim, if you believe everything that's been said, is to drain China. Right? That's the real aim. You attack China through Russia, right? I'm just cooking here. Let's test these peas. Don't know why, but I'm so cold today, me. Right. I think turn that off. I've got my big pan of rice curried up, ready, waiting. I've been soaking in warm water since last night. It's brown rice, not white rice. I don't eat white rice. Anyway, so Europe then, and if you look at all the legislations that Starmer's coming out with, it backs up what I'm saying. He's going to disband the NHS there, shrinking the benefits section, this, that, and the other. Basically, they're doing what America's doing, but they're gathering together all the pennies that they can gather, right? So that they can fight Ukraine. And they fight Ukraine by buying weapons from America. Do you see how this is working? Trump makes the announcement, right? Says to Russia, oh, we want peace, we want peace, we want peace, right? And then behind doors, they're getting Europe to buy weapons from America so that they can carry on this proxy war. So in actuality, Trump doesn't want peace. He just wants a continuation of it. He wants funding so they can pivot, as Obama said, to Asia, which is China. But it's all a crock of shit. All of it's a crock of shit. All of it is... I'm going to see if I can balance this. They are looking to create a situation where it's brought to the boil, the crescendo, and then a leader will step in to usher in new technologies, new way of financing everything, this, that, and the other, and a new golden age will start. Their creator, eukaryotic, prokaryotic, multi-celled organisms versus single-cell organisms, the original indigenous people of this world versus the artificial races of this world. And this is where a lot of people who are gonna fall out with what I'm saying, but I'm quite used to that. I am quite used to that. Let's get back to what I said earlier about everything being a lie. You see this internet thing? This internet's just a fucking lie, man. Sorry for the profanities, but it's a lie. I'm going to try and get my phone up now to show you some Google searches I did last night to show you why this algorithm, this thing called Google, is just one stinking liar, man. Right. Let's get my phone up here. Right, World Health Ranking. This is about melanoma, right? Facts on melanoma. When this argument that I'm bringing up, it's not just it's not one dimensional. It sounds like I'm jumping from using one topic to jump to another topic, but I'm not. It's all intermingled. It's all the same thing. This all goes back to Putin holding up a picture of a black Jesus. I think he did it in 2023. He did it in 2023 in Ukraine, or it might have been Russia, but this was whilst the war was going on, and I thought it was strange. And then all these Yahweh worshippers, these black so-called Jews, started coming out with, posts on YouTube and wherever, and you can still find them now of Putin holding up pictures of a black Jesus, and then the Pope supposedly having inner sanctum, a subterranean inner sanctum somewhere in the Vatican, where he prays to a black Madonna and a black Jesus, and all the angels and Jesus, if that's what you want to call him, was black, this, that, and the other, and whatever, and whatever, and whatever. Basically, black people aren't given anything with regards to a position of importance in this world. None at all. And everything that is ours has been taken away and repurposed, or whitewashed, if you want to call it that. But the real story of what's going on is being televised and told here, but it's then being disguised as something else. And basically, there's a war going on. There is a war going on right now that most people are unaware of. And it involves entities that are here, that have been here for a long time. They've manufactured and created other races, and those other races have subjugated the original indigenous race of this world, and the brothers and sisters of the indigenous race have come from their own planets and brought their war planets with them, and they've surrounded the system. They've totally closed it off. They've given the evil ones, if that's what you want to call them, an ultimatum to leave, and they don't want to leave. They've planted nuclear devices in the crust of the earth, saying, well, if we can't have it, we're going to blow up everything. All right. And so they've started weather wars with the indigenous people of, well, not the indigenous people, the supplanted races of this world. And it's a lot for me to try and get in 19 minutes, and it does sound disjointed, but it isn't. I suggest you go to YouTube's channels like Khalad Amun-Ra, and listen to what he's saying. He's one of the only other people on YouTube that I've got it spot on, absolutely, completely correct. When most people think of, or when you say, oh, the slave trade, right, the back argument that you'll get to that is, oh, well, Africans were enslaving themselves as well. But without that argument, primarily without that argument, if you mention slavery, most people think of Europeans going to Africa and slave, or basically just break it down to what it is. White people going to Africa and enslaving Africans. Well, in fact, history teaches us that white people were the last people to enslave the Africans, and it happened twice before. This is what a lot of people don't seem to understand. There's been 3 invasions of Africa: the Greek, the Roman, and the Arab invasions of Africa. And all those invasions involves enslaving the Africans. The Romans did it, right? The Greeks, not directly, but indirectly did it. And the Arabs did it, and they occupied. They didn't just do it; they occupied the northeast section of. They took it over completely, of Africa. Kemet, which is Egypt, was a black place. Israel, all them lands there were black at one time. There were no Arabs there at all, and Arabs are basically Turks. They're all Turks. Anyway, getting back to what's going on. If you look on YouTube, right, they try and downplay factual things, and because everything's geared up to perpetuating the narratives that are going on. So let's have a look here now. In 2022, Egypt reported 150,578 new cases of cancer in both sexes, right? And if you go down, it gives you a percentage of melanoma, right? Skin cancer incidents, right? You see, the reason I did the search and the reason why I brought all this up is to show you there's a difference between all the other races and black people. All the other races have enslaved black people. Black people ain't enslaved any of the other races. The argument is, oh, well, black people enslaved black people as well. No. Black people in Africa had indentured servants, people that owed, so they had to work off those debts. They didn't have slaves like the Asian people or the Europeans had slaves. They had indentured servants, right? Which is now being lied about and being called Africans enslaving Africans. Didn't happen. But anyway, you can see what's going on here, right? You can see the percentages. And I did Syria as well. I did Gaza, Palestine rather, just to show you that some of these places are so impoverished and poor. And I know what people will do is they'll try and build up arguments. But this place is so poor, and it's just a crock of shit. The arguments people are going to try and bring up against what I'm showing you now is just ridiculous, right? Now, let's get to the first ones actually and go backwards, because the first ones are actually the last ones, right? And we start off in the black countries, right? You see, what Khalad says is true. Black people's hair grows up to the sun like plants do. Plants strive to reach what gives them life, what provides life, which is the sun. Black people's hair don't fall down to the ground. Our hair's not dead. But all the other races, their hair doesn't grow upwards to the sun. It grows to the ground. It's dead hair. Right? And they're multi-celled organisms, meaning fruit flies, bats, monkey. They have all kind of animal DNA mixed up into one. And you don't get that in nature. There's nowhere in nature that you can look. Chimpanzees don't have multi-cells inside of their DNA. Gorillas don't. Orangutans don't. Elephants don't. Rhinos don't. Giraffes don't. Wolves don't. All the original animals, right, that haven't been tampered with genetically, if you look at them, They all stick to their own. They all have their own boundaries, right? And they all have their own DNA. It's only the other races that are multi-celled organisms, right? And they're at odds with the Earth and the Sun because they all, not some, all get melanoma. They all get skin cancer, but they try and hide this fact. Look at this now, Kenya. In Kenya, an estimated 44,726 new cancer cases, including non-melanoma skin cancers, are reported each year. Here's a more detailed breakdown overall cancer incidence. And then when you go to it, there isn't any percentages. There's a theme to the lies if you look. If you look at what I'm showing you now, there is a theme. See, they give you an overall estimated. And then when it comes to the breakdown, there are no percentages, right? And it says, while specific skin cancer statistics are not readily available. Now, this is where I was coming to what people are going to put up as an opposing argument. They're going to say, oh, well, Kenya is a poor country, this, that, and the other. It's lies. If you go onto Google and search on Google for any country that is predominantly black, these are the statistics, the facts that you're going to get. And I'm showing you now. Watch. I'm going to show you. All right. Kenya. All right. Oh, well, I've done Kenya twice. All right. Nigeria. Same thing. Same thing in Nigeria. It will tell you that there's a massive... You see, we're not meant to eat meat. So people foolishly follow habits of other nations, right? And this is why you have these statistics up here. Because people are eating meat. People are eating meat, so you've got cancer in these countries, but they're not skin cancer. You can clearly see that there is no specific statistic for skin cancer. It's just an overall figure, and then it goes down to, but if you look at the specific statistics, this, that, and the other, and there isn't any. For skin cancer, there isn't any. Let me see if it's better. Yeah, it's better if I go backwards. So, right, where's this one now? And now we go to places where there is where there is hardly any black people. So this is Iraq in 2022, all right? And you can see they give you the very specific what it is in between genders, ages, what percentages of skin cancer, what percentages of different types of cancer, right? And then you go down here, you go to Ethiopia, same thing as Kenya, right? And Nigeria. It says that there's so much cancer in Ethiopia, but then when it comes to the percentages of skin cancer, there's no percentages. Whilst the information is sketchy, this, that, and the other. Have you seen Ethiopia? Parts of Ethiopia quite built up and cosmopolitan and civilized, this, that, and the other. People are going to, but Kenya and Ethiopia, Nigeria, they're all poor, they're Africans, they're backwards, they're this, they're that, and that's why they don't have any statistics, this, that, and the other. And that's why I pointed out at the beginning of this that I went to countries in the Middle East that are really poor, on war-torn, savage countries, right, where they shouldn't have statistics, but they still do. And then you go to places in Africa, right? Anyway, it's quite obvious when you look at this, what's going on in. Do you know what I mean? It's more than obvious. More than obvious. obvious. Where's this one now? This might be the same place. Same thing. 1,400 cancers are registered annually, with a high percentage being diagnosed late. There's always an excuse, but there's no specific detail about skin cancer and its sex relevance and age, and there's none. Right? And then when you go, where's this now? Palestine. Now everybody knows what's going on in Palestine. Now war-torn it is in Palestine. People ain't even got proper infrastructure, but yet they have the percentage and they can tell you. It's right there, black and white, right there. While precise data on skin cancer incidents in Palestine is limited due to incomplete reporting and surveillance issues, the incident rate of skin melanoma was reported at 0.46% in 2022, ranking 26th amongst cancer types. Percentage and overall cancer incidence, the crude incidence rate of cancer in the West Bank was 119.6% per 100,000 population in 2021. Do you see what's going on here? The lies and the fucking bullshit that is being pumped out by everybody in the world against the realities of the world and what's going on with black people and black people. I used to be blind to all of this as well. I was blind to all of this. Right? But this goes back to Putin putting up the picture of Black Jesus. Right? He wasn't putting up. I don't believe in Jesus per se, but what he was showing the world was this is what the real war is. You forget, and I lived in Feltwell, Norfolk. And I worked on the military base there for a very short period, and it's not like a high security base. It's like a massive warehouse, basically that base, and it houses all furniture and etc. and allocations for squaddies coming over from America here. And they have all the furniture that they put into the houses for the new squaddies and the families and this and that and that and this and this. And I worked in the warehouse, taking in the produce, produce, furniture, mattresses, etc., and then distributing them to the houses and so on and so on. And you have Lakenheath and Mildenhall. Do you remember last year all the boohoo or whatever you want to call it about the drones up in the sky, how they're flying around Lakenheath and Mildenhall, and at the same time they were up in America, and then all over the world there were a massive increase in it. That was true. It was real, but they weren't adversarial UFOs as drones as the Americans tried to portray, or as the British tried to portray. Those were, and I'm speaking to black people, those were our brothers and sisters, right, that are patrolling and policing this realm now. There's a deadline. All the inorganic species now, they're living on a very, very tight deadline, and they know this, and they're going erratic, and the DNA is being split by the ionizing radiation coming from the sun. The sun's intensity has changed. The moon has changed. We have new planets squared up around us. And there's a reason why these planets are here. These lights that you can see in the sky, there's a reason why they're here.